All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Invasive Species Forum. My name is Madison Sturba, and I'm Program Development Coordinator at the Invasive Species Center. I'll be your MC for this year's event, so you'll see quite a bit of me over the next few days. Some of our regular forum attendees might be used to seeing Mackenzie MC our annual forum, but she's actually off on maternity leave with a beautiful baby girl, so very excited for her, and I'll try my best to fill her shoes this year. I would like to start off this forum with our land acknowledgement, just to express our appreciation for the land and for those that came before us. The Invasive Species Center honors the long history of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis Nations people on the lands now known as Canada and strives to show respect to their ancestors, their communities, and to them individually. We greatly appreciate the significance of the lands, waters, and all living things, and offer our gratitude to the Indigenous peoples for their care for and teachings about our Earth. Our relationships with Indigenous communities are important, and we will continue to listen and learn how we can be in a good relationship with Indigenous peoples, the lands and waters, and all living things, and act accordingly. The Invasive Species Center respectfully acknowledges that our head office is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Bechuana, and Graydon River First Nations, as well as a longtime settlement of the Métis people in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area. Since we are meeting virtually too, I would just like to acknowledge that the Indigenous peoples are the traditional stewards of the lands and waters where each of us attends the forum this afternoon. We do encourage everyone just to take some time out of your day to consider the traditional lands on which you reside. So with that, it's my pleasure to welcome our first very special guest, Liz Wakamagad, an Ojibwe, Ottawa, Potawatomi from Wicomico, Manitoulin Island, currently residing in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Liz has a BA in Anishinaabe at Algoma University and her Bachelor of Education at Queen's University. Liz has been a youth and children's trainer, a family and community development specialist serving Canada and the United States for over 30 years, and in the past 25 years, Liz has been a featured regional and national conference motivational speaker, using storytelling, humor, and wit combined with audience participation. Liz has a lot of experience working with her local community, managing the youth program for 8 years, becoming the executive director of the Indian Friendship Center in Sault Ste. Marie, and teaching at Sault College are just a few examples of her amazing work in the community. Liz is now working as the Director of Health and Human Services for Bechuana First Nations and looks forward to using her 30-plus years of experience to assist in the community in all aspects of programming that supports health and well-being from a holistic perspective. Liz uses her traditional knowledge and experience, balanced with the gifts received from her Western knowledge training, to work towards living the good life. Thanks so much, Liz, for being here. We're very lucky to have you joining us. I'll pass it over to you now for an opening prayer.
All right, thanks, Madison. Much appreciate that opportunity to listen to how long I have been in the business of working with our people, working with our allies and friends, people who serve and do the best that they can. Definitely amazing to me that time keeps flying by. I wish to thank you also for doing the land acknowledgement. The land acknowledgement is something that really, for many of our Indigenous communities right across the land here on Turtle Island, is something that really has taken off, I guess you could say. And so in this time of what we call truth and reconciliation here in Canada, my mom and dad were movers and shakers before me. I definitely grew up and worked in the world of helping our people and thinking about the importance of relational building. And then I see my own children doing it now, and even my granddaughter Oakley, who is 3 years old. She has been to a few speaking engagements. So when I listen to different gatherings like this one, do land acknowledgements, it really makes my heart happy. So to miigwech to your organizing committee, but also to the Invasive Species Center for taking that on, that responsibility. So I thank you for that. I do wish to acknowledge all the pieces of land that, as far as the first visit with our organizing committee went just a few moments ago, there are people from all over the world, all over what we would call Shkakamekwe in my language, all over Mother Earth, from the Dominican to Italy to here in Canada. How absolutely beautiful to know that we could be connected for something as important as being advocates of not only the land and the water, but certainly becoming informed advocates and information holders as we look at things like climate change, new ways of doing things. How very magnificent this is that this forum is going to be so well attended. I do also want to acknowledge and say thank you to all the people that have come before me and before you being here, that have done the work that we are now picking up as our responsibility. Their work before us, and of course the work that we're doing now, and the work of the people in the time to come. In my language, that is called Nipo Kapatagan. That is the thread that ties us together intergenerationally. And so certainly, even though this is a gathering, so to speak, of Western knowledge holders, Western advocates, in terms of your thinking and, science and technology and all of those good things that help us with these jobs, it is so important for me as an Indigenous woman to understand and know that we have this kind of work going on by so many people around the world. And there has been work in the past, and there's work in the future. So that Nipo Kapachikan, that string, that tie that binds us. The other thing that I also wish to share with you, just as a thought to put there for you, is one of the beautiful teachings that my people share. Again, this is across the land, is what we call 7-generational thinking. And to know that what I'm doing today is going to affect and impact 7 generations from now. Whether it's something, this small and minute to this something large and grand, there is consequence. And so for me to do so with good intentions, thinking about 7 generations from now. So I do thank the organizing committee for calling upon me. I am a grandma, I am an auntie, I am a mom, I am a daughter, I am a cousin, a big sister, a little sister, all those beautiful roles that we carry as women. And one of the things in my family that our women are responsible for is making sure that intentions are set. And so I'm very happy to accept this sama, this tobacco, on behalf of the organizing committee to start your gathering with some words of prayer and intention. And I also have my medicines here of tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, and cedar to help me with those words. And so I acknowledge and say Chimigwech Timishomas Jesus, Nokamas Jesus, Shkakamekwe, Minowa Kinawaya, all of our relatives from the sky right through to the water and the land. And indicate how thankful we are for this good life, Minoba Madzuan, that we have the ability and within our reach, the means to work together and to bring about, all of these presenters who are here this week, all of us who are listening, to bring about some kind of action that's going to continue to help us acknowledge climate change, acknowledge advocacy of the land, the water, the people, the resources, and anything naturally connected to those places. And then what do we do with the things that aren't naturally connected? And so I ask all of those relatives, all of our ancestors, to be with everybody. I ask everybody to keep an open mind as you sit and listen to the people that have been brought forward to share their knowledge. And I ask for this in a good way. Please keep our home fires safe while we are listening and attending. Please take care of our families if we've traveled from somewhere to somewhere else so that we can participate in this. Please keep our families safe in our absence. I say this with a good heart and all the best intention. Chimigwech kinawea, chimigwech kajamnado, migwech. I will pass it back to you, Madison, and I wish you all a great gathering.
Miigwech, thank you so much, Liz. That was a very beautiful way to start off the forum. We really appreciate your time. Next up, it's my pleasure to introduce another very special guest for this afternoon, the Minister for the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, the Honourable Graydon Smith. Thanks so much for being here. I'll pass it over to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Madison. It's great to be with everyone today. Liz, thank you for your words. I had an opportunity to do this last year. I'm so pleased to be able to do it again. I see there's quite a few participants online, and that's absolutely fantastic. And really fantastic to be able to work with Sarah and everyone at the Invasive Species Center, and all those sort of the province that do such a great job in helping with the whole I don't know, kind of pan-invasive species issue. You can tell I'm not talking off any prepared notes at this point, but just looking for words that really encompasses the scope of the great work that everybody does. And I'm just, again, so very, very grateful for that. So keep up the good work. And that'll be kind of a bit of a theme of the comments that I make today. We know here in Ontario, we've got a huge amount of biodiversity, more than 30,000 species on over 1 million hectares, and it extends from Carolinian forest in the south to tundra in the north and in the Hudson's Bay lowlands. And that biodiversity supports our environment, our communities, our economy, and is the core of my ministry's work to sustainably manage Ontario's natural resources. But obviously, and unfortunately, invasives are putting that biodiversity at risk. They threaten our economy and our society and impact sectors like agriculture, fisheries, forestry, healthcare, recreation, and tourism, and are costing this province $3.6 billion per year. So we need partners like you taking action to stop invasive species and protect Ontario's economy and ecosystems. And that work you do does help protect our biodiversity, our lands, our waterways from invasives. And to support you, my ministry is working with many varied partners, providing funding for your essential work through the Invasive Species Action Fund. It's an incredibly important partnership. And the first thing I'll tell you today is that I'm very excited to confirm the next round of grants through the Invasive Species Action Fund opens March 6th. So there will be 3 streams you can apply to. The micro grants stream, which will support communities across the province in addressing a wide range of invasives priorities, and the accelerated impact and transformative action streams. Those are 2 different streams supporting projects addressing key priorities and species such as water soldier, oak wilt, and other species as well. So my message is to municipalities, conservation authorities, Indigenous communities, local volunteer groups, many others, take advantage of this important program to support local action on invasive species, protect your part of Ontario, and protect Ontario as a whole. And again, that date for the next call for proposals, March 6th. So it's coming up soon. As I've already said, your work is essential. And I again want to thank you and thank the Invasive Species Center. My ministry is not stopping its good work. We're on the front line of managing invasive species too. And our teams have made significant strides to prevent, detect, and respond to the many, many threats out there, because we know that when biodiversity is healthy, when ecosystems are more resilient, we can stop invasive species from establishing in the first place. So in November, we started the process of renewing the Ontario Invasive Species Strategic Plan to address the evolving and increasing threat here in Ontario. That renewed strategic plan will build on the experiences of the previous 10 years, but have very much a focus on the future. It'll include updated provincial direction and commitments to address the ongoing risk of invasives in the province. And we also released the Ontario Invasive Species Strategic Plan Review of Progress. And this review looks at invasive species prevention and management across the province by both partners and government over the last several years. And what it says is that we've come a long way. And I'm super pleased about that. And I'd like to tell you about some of our recent highlights in fighting invasive species. Recently, we added 10 new species and 4 new genera or groups of species under the Invasive Species Act, making Ontario a leader in proactively addressing high-risk threats in Canada. We've regulated boats as a carrier of invasive species to prevent the introduction and spread of invasives to our lakes and rivers. And we're investing $1 million in new funding for the Invasive Species Center and Nature Conservancy Canada to combat the damaging and costly impacts of invasives here in the province. We also launched Ontario's strategy to address the threat of invasive wild pigs, outlining the province's approach to proactively manage the risk of invasive wild pigs and prevent their establishment here in the province. And we're providing ongoing control of high-risk invasive species such as the marbled crayfish, European water chestnut, and water soldier, which now threatens the Bay of Quinte. We know that prevention is by far the most cost-effective solution and protects Ontario's economy and our way of life. And we're also working on the issue of forest pests. One example of this is providing funding to the Invasive Species Center to support information sessions in areas of Ontario that are at risk of oak wilt. And these sessions are raising awareness, educating the public on how they can help prevent the further spread of this harmful disease, and they'll also learn how to report signs of infection. And finally, we're putting in place important public outreach and education initiatives. And of course, I'm a huge fan of this. I'm a big believer that the public has a huge and important role to play in identifying invasives and helping us get a handle on some of these challenges. The urgency associated with this is growing. There's an increased risk from a changing climate and from biodiversity loss. And I want you to know the ministry will continue to prioritize keeping new invasive species out of Ontario. It'll help avoid further ecological harm and economic harm here in the province. And we'll also continue to look for ways to effectively reduce the impacts of established invasive species. But as I've said, we cannot do this alone. We need everyone to get involved. Environmental organizations, Indigenous communities, businesses, individuals. We've all got a role to play. And as a government, we're committed to connecting with key partners and allies across the province to achieve our shared goal. Together, we can prevent new invaders from arriving, slow or reverse the spread of those that are already here, and reduce the overall negative impacts to our province. So as you move through the forum, you'll see concrete examples of how the Ontario government is supporting proactive efforts. I think the first session today will highlight some of the on-the-ground work being done as a result of the Invasive Species Action Fund and Green Shovel's Invasive Phragmites Control Fund, funded in part by our government. And tomorrow, you'll hear about some of the important work MNRF is doing in the field of environmental DNA and how it's being used as a sensitive early warning system for invasive species detection. So to everyone responsible for putting the forum on, thank you. Thank you for bringing everybody together, for providing the information, the opportunities to learn more about what's being done now and what can be done in the future. Sarah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I know you'll be appearing shortly. So to the Invasive Species Center, thank you so much for the work that you're doing for all the groups, communities, conservation authorities, again, Indigenous communities, everyone that is taking this threat seriously in Ontario. Thank you so much. Let's continue to work together and do a great job for all of Ontario. And I really do appreciate the time I've been able to spend with you today. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the forum. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Minister Smith. Really appreciate it. It's great to hear about all the initiatives, and what an exciting announcement about the upcoming grants. It's going to be amazing to continue supporting the on-the-ground action this year. So thank you again for your time and for all the support. We really couldn't do what we do without you. So last but not least, we do have some remarks from Sarah Rang, who is our amazing Executive Director here at the ISC. So take it away, Sarah.
Thanks very much, Maddie. Thank you, Liz, for your beautiful welcome, and thank you, Minister Smith, for your comments and remarks. Appreciate it, and excited about the grant program and being able to support all the great community groups who are on the line and listening. Welcome to the Invasive Species Annual Forum 2024. Our theme this year is Empowering Action, and you'll see that woven in the sessions in the next 4 days. We're very glad to have you join and appreciate that, everyone has a busy day and it's a great opportunity to be together. My name is Sarah Rang. I'm the Executive Director of the Invasive Species Center, and we are a nonprofit organization headquartered in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And our mission is really to help protect the land and water in Canada from invasive species. We have three strategic priorities, and the first one is to enhance knowledge. And so we're very pleased today to present the Invasive Species Forum. And this forum brings invasive species issues, current research, new management techniques, both in the prevention and in the management of invasive species here in Ontario, across Canada, and also from our neighboring US states as well. Our second priority at ISC is to mobilize action. And so we're really pleased and very proud to offer grants for invasive species management, both for community groups and land managers. We also help coordinate over 25 working groups on invasive species, help assist with a community science program, and run a comprehensive training program as well. Our third strategic priority is to help build the business case for investment, and so that we can all tell the story of the economic, environmental, and social impacts of invasive species. We know that invasive species are costly. They have a $3.6 billion a year impact in Ontario alone. And we also more recently learned that globally, biological invasions are as costly as natural hazards like storms and earthquakes. So like many of you, we see invasive species as an issue on the rise. We see growing interest from municipalities, Indigenous communities, community groups on trying to prevent and find better management methods for invasive species. Like you, maybe this summer, your phones were ringing off the hook with people inquiring about invasives. We dubbed it the summer of the invasives, and certainly we've never seen so much media interest and land manager interest in invasive species. We do have some new established populations of priority forest insect pests at oak wilt, hemlock woolly adelgid, and we did see our first sighting, but not an establishment of spotted lanternfly in Ontario. On the aquatic side, the minister mentioned the new spread of water soldier in the Bay of Quinte that a number of partners and ourselves are working on. We're always interested in marble crayfish and invasive carp and plant species like Phragmites. And many partners are working very hard in areas like Long Point to do active management of Phragmites across the landscape. And so you'll hear a lot about this over the next 4 days at the forum. Big thank you to the investment from the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, which allows us to offer this invasive species forum free of charge. So to enable the greatest number of people to join in and share knowledge. And you've responded with over 1,200 people registered at the forum, which is a new forum record. Thanks also to forum partners O0 and York Region for their support as well. So over the next 4 days, we have exciting programs. I hope we will capture your interest with 50 speakers, including lunchtime keynote speakers like Henry Lickers tomorrow, Richard Hallett on Wednesday, and Peter Stout on Thursday. We also have interesting events, so you can participate in Indigenous woodland art on Tuesday afternoon, test your knowledge at the invasive species trivia, and really most importantly, come and celebrate your colleagues at the invasive species awards ceremony. Take the time to celebrate some successes on invasive species management. We welcome your ongoing partnership and open to new ideas. Please feel free at any time to contact myself through the Zoom chat or any member of the Invasive Species Center you meet over the coming days to explore any ideas you have in partnerships or projects or participating in webinars. We can keep in touch if you'd like through signing up for a new newsletter at the Invasive Species Center, and that's a way to receive regular news and learn about events. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and welcome, and hope you enjoy the forum over the next 4 days. I'll turn it back now to Maddie, who will bring us in for our next session.
Thanks so much, Sarah, and thank you again to both Liz and Minister Smith for joining us this afternoon. This is the 5th annual Invasive Species Forum hosted by us at the Invasive Species Center in partnership with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. Like Sarah said, we do have a record number of registrants with over 1,200 people signed up. So thank you all so much for attending and taking an interest in invasive species issues, research, and advances. Don't worry if you can't make all of the sessions. We do have quite a bit of them, but everything will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel with speaker permissions. We'll kick things off at 1 o'clock with our special session highlighting our grant recipients. And we're really excited to showcase some of the important on-the-ground work that's been made possible through funding by MNRF. So we'll see you back in just a few